Dear Scroto, you once asked me if there was anything more to know about my video, and while I can honestly say I told you the truth, I may not have told you all of it.
The Hobbit 2003 video game. You may have heard of it. A lot of people have talked about it recently, and even though I don't listen to those cucks, I've enjoyed the intrigue. The Hobbit is a game that's near and dear to me. My experience with this classic has been an adventure in itself. There were a lot of games that I loved playing, finishing, and replaying as a kid, but The Hobbit wasn't one of them. Even though I've known about it all my life, even though I've had multiple copies on multiple platforms, I finished this game for the first time in the year of our Lord 2023. So what gives? Am I a fake fan? Maybe. But every story has its beginning.
It all started when I was born.
Truth be told, I was made and raised in a Hobbit household. My family owned the book. I watched the creepy cartoon. These guys live on our family crest. That being said, the Hobbit video game for PC made perfect sense. Trying to launch this game is one of my earliest memories. It's 2008. We've got a black president and 2 discs. One to install the game and one to play it. The setup wizard's doing its thing. You've got all these cool screenshots building the hype. My game hits 99% and dies. Try as I might, I could never get this thing to finish installing, and I never played a frame of The Hobbit on PC. All I could do was stare at the disc, longingly. Even so, the Hobbit IP never vanished from my life. I did learn to read at some point, and of course I saw the film trilogy.
The task I have in mind will require a great deal.
By the time 2015 rolled around, I was primed to give the video game another go. Luckily, I had a friend who lent me his PS2. He gave me The Hobbit and a couple of other games, but, you know, who cares about those? Now this is more like it. Boot it up, make a save, and that's catfishing. Okay, in all seriousness, I think this game looks alright. It's all pretty similar to what you see on the box. The drawings are terrible, but that's easy to ignore. Between the art style and the guitar-oriented soundtrack, I think the aesthetics are all pretty charming. As for the gameplay, The Hobbit is a 3D action adventure where you play through all the scenes from the book and then some. You run, you jump, you puzzle. Oh, I fucked that up. If this wasn't a Hobbit adaptation, there wouldn't be much to say. It plays like any other game from 2003, it's just based on a book about walking. The Hobbit is a very easy game to play now, but when I was a kid, it kicked my ass. How embarrassing. Luckily, there's a bunch of NPCs to help the player out, like Thorin, and this guy that wasn't in the book, and this elf that wasn't in the book, and me mum. When I was younger, I skipped every game cutscene I could, so it was all for naught. A lot of my first playthrough was wasted because I never knew what to do or where to go. There's a simple way to check that kind of thing, but I didn't. So when my friend took his console back, I was stuck somewhere in this level, Riddles in the Dark. That would be the last time I played The Hobbit for another 5 years. 2020 was a good year for gaming. This time, it was a GameCube copy running on Dolphin. Finally, a real console. I replayed all the levels I'd done before, I finished Riddles in the Dark, and I just wasn't feeling it. It's hard to say why. Maybe it was PPP screaming in my ear, but I remember feeling like I'd just aged out of the target audience. Even though it's supposed to be for everyone, I felt alienated by The Hobbit's difficulty, or lack thereof. For one thing, the combat is super easy. You'll unlock some different attack combos as you go, but the basic bitch moves are fine even late in the game. There's also a whole shop of items that nobody older than 3 should be using. After playing through the level Flies and Spiders, I quit The Hobbit. It wasn't clicking and I'd had enough. The world changed a lot between 2020 and 2023, but I was still retarded. Years after my aborted playthrough, I wanted to give The Hobbit another shot. So in May 2023, I played it, I finished it, and it was fine. One thing I'm glad to report is how the game picks up in the second half. There's more gameplay variety, more puzzling, more sex, and more dumb shit that wasn't in the book. That's not something I care about when it works, but when it doesn't, yeesh. This isn't Sly Cooper, why am I doing recon missions? Also, I want to point out how exactly they padded this game, and how Peter Jackson did the same thing to his movies. Maybe the movies were based on the game. Maybe all of this was ill-conceived.
something that's pretty funny about video games is you always have to find a way to get characters from one place to another. And of course, Bilbo walked most of the way, but walking's not good gameplay. So one of the things that Bilbo's doing all the way through is he's platforming, which is very satisfying.
So here's a question. Would I recommend The Hobbit? Would I think it was worth checking out if it wasn't a novelty in my life? Does the game's merit speak for itself? I think if you're really interested in playing The Hobbit today, it won't be for the quality gameplay experience. At the end of the day, this is a baby game from 20 years ago, so it all comes down to curiosity. If you're interested enough to find a copy, you'll probably get something out of it. But yeah, I can totally understand wanting to speedrun through this. What the hell? Wait, what the fuck? Oh my god. No! Stop! Mom, no! It's not what you think!